It was 3 a.m. on the southern slope of the Zagros Mountains, while the world remained oblivious to the escalation.
The Combat Information Center of the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln became the epicenter of a tectonic revelation. A senior sensor analyst processing real-time telemetry data sent by a stealth RQ-1 airspace.
Target Sector 7 Delta. Initial telemetry suggests an anomaly in the previous impact site, requesting spectral analysis. What initially appeared to be the success of a previous incursion on the smoldering remains of the OSIT base, leveled just 4 hours earlier.
Ground-penetrating radar and deep atmospheric spectral analysis confirmed a logistical nightmare for CENTCOM command.
The presence of uranium-238 particles emanating from hidden ventilation ducts among the rubble.
Tehran hadn't just built a decoy base, they had designed a fortified nuclear laboratory 120 meters deep, hidden under the mountain's limestone platform.
This complex, a labyrinthine network of tunnels, manifested on the analysts' screens as a web of data. It represented the core of the Iranian strategic weapons program. The regime's response was immediate and visceral.
The regime's response was immediate and visceral. A massive, uncoordinated activation of all air defense.
The Iranian berserker state had begun.
For the U.S. High Command, the miss ceased to be a superficial pseudodish, transforming into an imperative of However, the geography of the Zagros, an environment of granite and limestone designed by nature to resist impacts, posed a challenge.
A challenge that American steel could not resolve alone.
It required an unprecedented integration of technology, intelligence, and regional alliances to It requires what modern military doctrine defines as a system of systems.
Less than an hour after the rivet joint, the RC-135 electronic reconnaissance aircraft.
CENTCOM activated a network of regional alliances that transformed a tactical attack into an unprecedented strategic alignment.
This was the first high-intensity, real-world test for the Middle Eastern air defense architecture.
In this complex machinery, Israel acted as the spearhead.
The squadron of a squadron of F-35 Adir was fundamental.
These fifth-generation fighters, with their low radar signature and advanced electronic warfare capabilities,
were the only platforms capable of navigating the dense and hostile electromagnetic environment of the Zagros without being locked by Tehran's long-range.
2018. The Adir is not just a fighter jet, it is an intelligence node that processes and distributes target data in real time.
They created a surveillance dome that monitored any attempt of ballistic retaliation from within Iran.
tracking multiple inbounds.
This integration allowed American assets to focus exclusively on the offensive, delegating rear protection to regional partners.
Regional partners who spoke the same digital language.
The technical challenge was overwhelming. The second nuclear laboratory was hidden under a jagged limestone ledge.
Confirmed, we have visual on the target.
Which functioned as a natural deflector for conventional projectiles.
A kinetic monster of 13,600 kilograms.
However, the MOP can only be carried by the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber.
An aircraft with a colossal wingspan.
While the F-35s jammed local radars, Jordanian and Emirati assets kept the sky clear of interceptors.
Radar jammed, corridor clear.
allowing the B-2 to position itself for its final run. This section of the operation demonstrated that in modern warfare, hardware is secondary to the software of the Alliance.
Confirmed. Alliance network stable.
As the Coalition flight package moved into sovereign airspace, the scenario changed drastically from a surgical incursion.
Tehran, anticipating that its surface facilities would be neutralized, had transformed the deep valleys of the Zagros.
Instead of emitting detectable signals, Iranian defenses resorted to passive infrared sensors to
Operating via hardened fiber optic cables, this configuration allowed the Iranian units to communicate without emitting radio signals that U.S. signals intelligence could intercept.
Achieving near total electronic invisibility until the moment of the shot.
The first blow was devastating. A Jordanian F-16 Block 60, flying a low-altitude.
The Zagros range, a critical corridor. Low-altitude escort is paramount.
Viper 1, low altitude, sector clear. Maintaining visual on the strike package.
Breaking left, flares out. 9G. 9G. Come on. Cross to an minute. Viper 1 is down. Parachute spotted. Initiating CSAR protocols immediately.
The fall of the Allied pilot transformed the mission into a rescue operation under fire.
Move! Capture him alive! For the guard!
Hog 1, tally on the hostiles. Rolling in for a gun run. Watch the splash.
American pilots created a daisy chain of fire, pulverizing limestone crests and collapsing the cave entrances where the defense teams were hidden. Faced with the risk of a mountain guerrilla war, CENTCOM ordered a tactical escalation known as terrain normalization.
The destroyers Arleigh Burke and USS Cole launched a salvo of 24 Tomahawk.
The target was not the bunkers, but the mountain slopes themselves, above the suspected launch sites. The massive explosions caused localized rock slides that buried the Iranian tunnel exits. Forcing the mobile batteries to move into open terrain, where they were stripped of their geographical cover.
there, stripped of their geographical cover, and with communications saturated by electronic warfare, they remained vulnerable.
With their communications saturated by the electronic warfare of the EA-18G Growler, they remained vulnerable.
Sledgehammer 1, JASSM away. Bullseye on the mobile battery. Terminating target.
The mountain that was once a shield was beginning to become a tomb.
With the outer defensive ring of the Zagros fragmented and the BA-373 batteries forced to relocate under the harassment of the A-10s and F-35I.
The stage was finally cleared for the strategic hammer.
Acknowledged. Weapons hot. Proceeding to target.
At 40,000 feet, invisible to any remaining thermal or radar trace.
The objectives were not uncovered, but a specific geological topography following
The MOP is not a conventional bomb. It is a projectile of pure kinetic energy, designed to survive impact.
Weapon released. Acceleration confirmed. Transonic velocity reached. Impact in T-minus 10 seconds. Weapon away!
In physical terms, the kinetic energy E released at the moment of contact is colossal. Following the
The genius of the attack lay in the fuse delay. When the projectile finally detonated in the heart of the laboratory, the result was a subterranean hell. Confined in a closed space under millions of tons of rock, the pressure wave had nowhere to expand, so it traveled through the tunnel network like lightning.
enrichment centrifuge, the core of the exploration.
U.S. surveillance satellites, the impact was visually sober but geologically definitive.
In that instant, the installation that Tehran considered its invincible vault ceased to exist. The message was clinical.
There is no sufficient depth that American air power cannot reach if given the necessary time to decode the terrain.
The mountain, far from being a refuge, became the agent of destruction for its own occupants.
Tehran's response was, as predicted, a frenetic, visceral discharge lacking centralized coordination. With the command and control infrastructure of the nuclear laboratory collapsed under millions of tons of granite.
From mobile launchers hidden in civilian warehouses along the coast, Iran unleashed a massive swarm.
A massive swarm of Shahed-136 suicide drones and Fateh-110 short-range ballistic missiles. This was not a maneuver of precision, but an attempt at psychological overflow.
The projectiles did not point to the aircraft carrier groups, practically unreachable targets, but toward the Allied air bases in the UAE and Jordan.
The political objective was clear: to inflict enough collateral damage to fracture the coalition's resolve and force a diplomatic withdrawal.
The U.S. Fifth Fleet, operating in perfect symbiosis with Falcon 1 batteries, deployed a multi-layered interception shroud.
The destroyer USS Arleigh Burke, the central node of this defense, used its Aegis combat system to process.
Aegis is active. 50+ hostile sectors locked. Initiating RIM 174 release sequence. All batteries ready to engage.
To neutralize the 110 missiles re-entry phase,
The SM-6 is a piece of engineering designed for absolute dominance, capable of reaching targets at the edge of space with surgical precision.
While these interceptors eliminated the ballistic threat at stratospheric altitudes, the fighter jets and phalanx systems handled the drones. The SM-6 is an engineering masterpiece. Stratospheric impact confirmed. Splash 1, Splash 2. Ballistic threats neutralized. Fleet remains on course.
while the interceptors handled threat, the high-altitude fighters and phalanx receivers to the Shahed 136 drones, moving at a modest 185 kilometers per hour, were systematically detected and
converting the swarm into a series of inoffensive explosions over the sea.
The culmination of the operation in the Zagros Mountains marks a point of inflection in modern conflict theory.
The end of geography as a defensive sanctuary.
Confirmed. Data stream active on Node Gamma.
For centuries, mountain ranges and subterranean complexes were considered force multipliers for smaller powers against superior armies.
The capability to merge satellite intelligence and high-altitude atmospheric sampling allows a superpower to see through the mountain with the same...
The sober lesson for international analysts is the cost of deception.
The Iranian attempt to lure the coalition toward a decoy base only served to sharpen the sensitivity of U.S. sensors.
When Tehran tried to protect its real laboratory, CENTCOM was at a level 1 situational awareness.
This phenomenon reveals that asymmetric tactics have an extremely short shelf life.
Once a superior technological entity decodes the adversary's playbook, every subsequent move only accelerates their own destruction.
Finally, the success of the mission underscores the changing role of the United States on the global stage. It no longer...
The digital interoperability between Israeli F-35s, Tomahawk missiles, and Arab defense systems
demonstrates that the language of modern warfare is, above all, software.
In this new order, if a regime decides to invite a technological giant to a high-intensity combat,
Confirmed.
Their tunnels and mountains will not be their fortress, but their tomb. The subterranean erasure of the Zagros, a tactical victory.
This confrontation demonstrated that in the era of high-intensity technical warfare, geography is no longer a sanctuary. The United States has transitioned from a solitary global policeman to the central server of a regional power network.
the digital interoperability demonstrated here proves that the language of modern warfare is, above all, software. Their tunnels and mountains will not be their fortress, but their tomb.
A declaration of principle on the inevitability of technical efficiency in the 21st century.